There we go. All right. Good morning. So, my mother has been a third grade educator for 10 plus years. This year, 2 out of 22 of her students could read on a third grade reading level. The majority of them were actually 2 grade levels below. This places them in first grade and a kindergarten reading level. This is quite shocking. Now, this is not just shown in the Midwest, it's not just shown in Missouri, it's not just shown in the United States. This is a worldwide issue of declining reading levels. In a study by Tiffany P. Hagan, a director at the MGH Institute of Health Professionals in Boston school systems, and especially in impoverished schools, 60% of students were considered at risk at reading level, which typically means that they're significantly below and that they're at risk for the rest of their academic careers. Once again, this is shocking. Many children no longer place an importance on reading. Many children struggle with reading and they just keep getting pushed through the system. There's many different other causes that are attributed to this, such as the COVID-19 pandemic put many people backwards very far, the incompetency of school programs, unprepared teachers, or also general attitudes toward reading. I believe reading can be one of the most beneficial skills you can have in your life and can apply to all facets and all manners of things that you do, and it is very important. Firstly, I want to talk about reading comprehension. What is reading comprehension? A short definition, very easy, is just reading comprehension is being able to digest, understand, and then recall information that you read from text. This is very different from just reading. Anyone can read, say, classical literature. They can skim through and they can read a page. Now, if you ask them to recall something, say, what was this character's name? What were they doing? They might not be able to do that. And that plays into reading comprehension. Having a higher level of reading comprehension is understanding what you're reading. This is just being able to recall and just fully understand. And this makes someone enjoy reading at such a deeper level. And another quote from my mother is she believes whenever a child does not have a proper level of reading comprehension, they do not fully ever enjoy reading and they never actually get any sort of academic success from it. Reading comprehension plays into your academic success, as I said, but it also plays into real life success as well. Think about whenever you fill out a form. Whenever you're filling out a form, if you don't have a proper level of reading comprehension, you don't understand what you're filling out. You see the text, you're like, oh, I fill out here, here, and here. If you have a proper level of reading comprehension, you understand what you're filling out, what you're signing away, and what information you're divulging. Without that level of comprehension, you really are just signing it blankly and you're blinding, like you're just going in there blind. And that is very scary for many people. And that's why reading comprehension is so vital. Also, reading comprehension gives you a certain level of empathy that many people do not have. Being able to put yourself in a character's shoes, being able to understand from their point of view also comes into your real life whenever you talk to your friends. You can easily comprehend what they're saying just very easily if you have a higher level of reading comprehension, whereas if you really do not, if you've never really trained that skill, it might be much lower and it takes you much longer to understand what's going on. Next, I just want to talk about the declining reading levels and what are some causes of it. Firstly, I just want to talk about where it's been going on. So as I said earlier, it's been going absolutely everywhere. Children around the world they're not testing as high as they used to, and then many of them also have very, very negative attitudes toward reading. Many of them they hate it, they don't think it's an enjoyable thing, it's just purely academic. In a study that I was researching in the DC area, there has been no increase in reading levels since 2006. There's actually been a slight decrease. And in impoverished schools, there has been a massive spike downwards. In impoverished schools, this is where it's mainly shown. Children no longer have the want to read, they no longer have the motivation, and it's showing in their test scores and their attitudes. In another study that I looked at, majority of children no longer look to reading as an enjoyable thing. They see reading as a pain, they see reading as a hindrance, and it's something that they do not want to do. And something that plays into this is also their parents. In the same study, they did a survey on the parents. While granted, many more parents enjoyed reading more than their children, majority of them said, I don't like to read, I don't read. And this plays into what I think is the major issue in why reading levels are decreasing so much. Whenever I was speaking with my mother in an interview, I was asking her why she thinks all of her students just keep decreasing and decreasing. And she firmly believes it is because that reading is no longer placed as an important thing. Many of her parents in her community no longer read. They don't read themselves, they no longer read to their children, not even things such as simple as bedtime stories. They don't tell their children that reading is important. Many people just push away reading as something purely academic, and this can be very negative towards that child, because if you have that negative attitude towards reading, you'll never want to fully explore it, you'll never want to really put much time into it, which then just makes your reading level go down, your reading comprehension level go down, and overall can affect you negatively in many ways in life. Another thing, as I mentioned earlier, was the COVID-19 pandemic. Many children missed out on a full year of school. Most of us in this classroom are relatively lucky, because in high school, we were able to really stay on top of it. But as a child, I know I would have, at home, I would have not cared. I wouldn't have done my schoolwork. I wouldn't have applied myself. And that has really negatively harmed children because now most of them are a grade level behind in all manners of their things, especially reading. Another thing, as Andrew mentioned whenever he was talking about his speech, just kind of calling him out, is TikTok and short form media content. Many children today, they don't have the attention span to sit there. They don't have the attention span to sit there and read the entire time. And this is another thing that my mom has noticed very much in her classroom. Many of her students, they hate reading because they can't sit there, and they don't want to sit there because they have so much access to just quick short form media, just quick little hits, and that is very bad. And then also, one other thing that my mother believes, and has also been shown in studies, is that children are kind of pushed through our education system now. It's no longer pass or fail, especially whenever you're much younger. If you are failing in all aspects of your education, the school system does not care. You go to the next one. And this can make many kids feel very, I would say, dishonored. They're not very motivated because they just keep failing and they're just not doing well, and they're just, why would I apply myself if I can just go through? And I'm just so sick of this because they never fully understand. Now, granted, I understand not wanting to hold people back. I do think it'd be very important to make these kids actually have dedicated programs to them. And another final one that I want to talk about is scientific reading. Scientific reading is breaking down words into smaller different pieces, understanding their meanings, and then putting it all together. And many teachers today are not equipped with that knowledge because they go to different institutions for their learning, and many places sometimes don't think that's a very important or a very good form of teaching how to learn, but I personally think it's the best way. Finally, I just want to discuss why I think reading is so important and why I think it's such a valuable skill. As I talked about earlier, the reading comprehension plays into everything in your life. It plays into how you can talk, comprehend everything, and as I said, important forms and everything like that. Though reading also provides a very unique experience to many people. Directly linking to the pillar of cultural competence is reading. Whenever you read, you understand a culture from a different perspective. An example of me, I would never know how a Victorian English gentleman acted if I didn't read Dracula. Now I know how they dress, I know how they walk, I know how they talk, and I know all their different mannerisms because the person that wrote it was a Victorian gentleman. And being able to read that and understand their footsteps is something that's so amazing that I think that reading provides, that many people miss out on because they no longer do reading for enjoyment, but just for academic success. I also think reading can be an outstanding escape. Another example is interviewing with my mother. She had a quite turmoil home life. Her home life, she lived in a very small town that was quite bad, and not many opportunities were there for her. But through reading, she was able to see that there was things outside of her small town that were out there for her. So I think reading can provide you with all of that. In conclusion, I think many people no longer place an importance on reading. I think many people no longer think of it as an enjoyable thing. I think many people just push it away and think, once I'm out of school, I'm never touching a book again in my life. Though I think it's very important, especially whenever you're younger, to place an extreme importance on reading, because reading plays into every sort of success in your life, whether that be academic or socially. And overall, I think many of you especially should place more importance on reading. And I urge any of you to read more and enjoy it a little bit more. Thank you very much.